Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
running. From studio running, indie running, yeah.
From indie running to studio running and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
trip over whilst you're running.
This really is about filmmaking. Just in case you're listening for the first time, this is the Filmmakers Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Giles Alderson.
I am Dom Lenoir.
But the reason for our talking about running right now is we have on the director. It's like Edgar and director at the same time. The Edgar Wright.
Good old director.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who is here to talk about his brand new action thriller, Running Man.
Ooh.
And Dom sat down with him for an unmissable deep dive.
Yes.
So
sadly, it was pun-missable as well, because despite my best ideas of doing the punning man, we didn't actually get into any puns on the episode. Sometimes you don't force it if it's not going in that direction.
I mean, sometimes you do force it.
Yeah.
In this situation, I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah.
Because, it's better that you got into a deep dive about him and his filmmaking tactics rather than unbelievable puns. So I'm grateful for you for that. Thank you.
That's okay.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hit subscribe. Drop us a review. It'd be really nice to do that on your podcast of choice.
Like that post.
This wasn't filmed though, was it, Dom? So it won't be on our YouTube.
No.
However, should you like to, some massive guests recently are on our YouTube, which is the Filmmakers Podcast on YouTube. Go join, go subscribe, and write a nice review. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why wouldn't you?
So, Dom Lenoir.
Yes.
I'm gutted that I couldn't talk to Edgar Wright about filmmaking, and because he's a bit of a superstar and he's amazing, because I'm out in Bulgaria editing my latest film, and which is interestingly the same studio where Edgar shot parts of The Running Man, and there are still Richard's Lives spray painted all over the studio where they shot. So a little fun tip for you there, fun tidbit. But for me, sadly, I couldn't talk to Edgar. But Dom sat down in person with the man himself.
I did.
Tell us, what did you chat about? What will our audience glean?
Well, our friend Gregory Longstreet from the US actually got he got 90% of the excitement, because he sort of came into the room and he's like, Dom, I'm like, Gregory. And I'd never met the guy before. He's like, no, be excited about my client. I was like, Gregory.
You were more excited by Gregory, the PR guy. I love that.
I mean, I wasn't more excited, but there was more like surprised elation, because I'd never met the guy in person, and I had no idea he was going to be there in person. So it was very exciting. I was also very excited to see Edgar Wright, obviously.
Surprised elation. That's good. It's good.
But it was good fun.
Guy.
So the interview was delayed by 45 minutes. So and these things happen. That's absolutely fine. And one of the lovely ladies at Paramount, we won't name her to save her anonymity. Said don't worry about, because of the lateness, you can order anything off the room service menu, but apparently not caviar.
Which is what you ordered. This is what our audience have come to hear.
It's what I said first. I mean, was I joking?
Right.
I don't know, but I settled for a luxurious Verona hot chocolate, which they brought to my room, and it had the little the pouring snout and some whipped cream and some marshmallows and all that kind of thing. So
this is what our audience are going to learn.
Yeah. No, so then Edgar comes in. Do you want a drink or whatever? I was like, you can have some hot chocolate. So we shared a lovely hot chocolate. I got him a nice fresh glass, poured it out of the very nice Corinthia china, and we had a lovely time having a hot chocolate together.
I'm visualising this, by the way. I've been in these hotels. They are stunning, and they are beautifully laid out. So I can imagine the two of you. Okay. Yeah, actually, I would have a hot chocolate and just chatting away.
Was this
on our time, by the way? Was this on our dime?
Yes, it was on our time. Yeah.
But you weren't recording this?
Well, no, I was, yeah. So I was recording.
you were? Oh, good.
Yeah, he was sat down. I was like, would you like some hot chocolate? Et cetera, et cetera.
So our audience are going to hear this.
Yeah,
you just told them the story and now they're going to hear it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So we're just repeating.
Well, you can see if the reenactment is as good as my telling of it.
Great. So our audience will learn that you two sat down for a hot chocolate. Great. Let's get to the episode. What more do you want? This is Edgar Wright, who is notable for his Cornetto Trilogy, which he didn't. Like, the Americans don't really understand what a cornetto is, which is basically, if you're listening in America or anywhere else for that matter, it is an ice cream. Kind of what Dom Cooper was talking about the other day about his feast ice cream. Well, this is a cornetto, which is basically an ice cream in a cone that you get and you wrap around. And because Edgar put that in some of his early films like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, it became his Cornetto Trilogy, which starred both Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yeah.
All those films did. Some of his other films include Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is an amazing movie. Baby Driver, which I love.
Yeah,
an action
rewatched
thriller.
that. Yeah.
Famous for its perfectly timed action sequences, driven by music to the beat. The behind the scenes of this are amazing. Last Night in Soho, which is a psychological horror film.
Yep.
I would say it was his first foray into dark horror, in my opinion. And now, The Running Man, which is out in cinemas on the 11th and 12th of November. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be going to see it in Bulgaria with all the gang, and I can't wait. I cannot wait. So, unless you've got any other hot chocolate stories to tell us about Edgar Wright, should we get to the episode? And on the other side, shall we dissect and do a topic of the week?
Let's do it.
All right, here is Dom Lenoir and Edgar Wright enjoying a hot chocolate. Or maybe not. Maybe I cut it out. Let's see what happens.
Miserable bastard.
That's Dom. Greg Longstreet, dude.
Greg!
Oh my God, in person.
When you were in the UK.
I know,
We've never met.
We've never met in person.
Past me so many times today.
I was like, for a second, like, is that?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, nice
Lovely to meet you in person.
Lovely to meet
Hey,
you. More importantly, this guy.
How you doing?
Lovely
to meet you. Yeah, me and Greg have been talking across the ocean for many years.
Yeah.
But
We've never met in person.
It's cold in here as well. It's like David Letterman.
Are
you cold?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you want a fresh espresso or something?
That's some water. Amazing. It's breathing in here. Isn't
Some
it?
sparkling there. You can have some hot chocolate if you want. Is that tantalising?
No, it might have hot chocolate. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Late in the day.
Let me get you a glass. Yeah, I sort of fancied a hot chocolate myself. Would you like some cream with your hot chocolate?
No, this the straight stuff.
As it comes, lovely. Okay.
Thank you.
Here we go.
And is it like handheld mic? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Grab that.
So,
Like Granny at Christmas.
it's a pleasure to be sharing hot chocolate with you at the Corinthia Hotel. How's everything going? I mean, you must be very, very happy with The Running Man. I mean, it's another epic movie of yours.
Well, I am. It's also kind of like wild because we only finished making it like a couple of weeks ago. I've never had a film finish this close to release because we only started filming the movie like just over a year ago. It was literally a year yesterday that we started filming. So actually, it was an ambitious movie to make and an ambitious schedule to kind of finish it for release. But I'm really happy that we did. I mean, as you may or may not know, the original Stephen King book that he published under his pseudonym Richard Bachman, written in 1972, published in 1982, set in the year 2025.
Wow.
For real.
Yes.
So the cover of the original paperback says, "Welcome to the year 2025, where the best men don't run for president, they run for their lives." The Running Man, Richard Bachman. That was the cover of the book.
I mean, that's amazing because it's interesting because when people say, "Oh, okay, it's a remake," but actually, this is a remake. This is actually more of a
new adaptation of the book.
It's a new and maybe more truthful adaptation of the original
more
book.
faithful to the original novel for sure. I mean, it's still an adaptation, but it's. I think that's the thing is that the original film came out in 1987. It wasn't released in the UK until late 88.
Yeah.
I was 14. I did not see it at the cinema because it was an 18 certificate.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure my brother saw it, but I, meanwhile, had read the book. I was reading Stephen King books from the age of 12 or 13, and I'd read The Running Man which was part of the Bachman books. There was this paperback compendium of 4 of the Richard Bachman novels, including The Running Man. And so I had read that. I had read the book before I saw the original 87 film. So even though I enjoyed the 87 film, I was well aware that it was radically different to the book.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
Who Ben Richards is, why he goes on the show, and especially what the show is, what the game is, and where it takes place. And of course, how, like the denouement, everything is different. So I think being a Stephen King fan, I'd thought for a long time since I was a teenager that there was a different movie that could be made out of the book. And then that came to pass like 4 years ago when Simon Kinberg, one of the producers, actually approached me with it. I think having read in interviews that I'd said as much that I'd love to do a new adaptation of The Running Man. So 4 years later, here we are.
It becomes
I'm
a
sitting with
prophecy.
you.
Yeah.
Now it's finally real. I'm talking to you about it.
I know, that's amazing. I mean, I love that. I mean, what else really inspired you when you were growing up? Because I love Stephen King, but I sort of got into it later, sort of portion in life. I think I was on like Famous Five were like the first books I ever read, and then I was on to like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and that was kind of my diet. And then I got on to the more adult stuff, the Aliens and more drama sort of stuff and genre later on. But
I think reading Stephen King books at the sort of in my early teens, I was reading them because I was like a horror fan. But the thing that I found really bracing about them is all of the, how grounded they are and how adult they are outside of the horror. So there's a lot to learn about relationships, like family. There's a lot to learn about sex. And so it's that thing is I think in a weird way, the things that were the more eye-opening things in like the Stephen King novels was all the grown-up stuff. The stuff only mummies and daddies do. It was like sort of, I think when I read those books as a kid, I think my mum would probably be appalled if she actually read any of them.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like a short story like The Raft about like a sort of a horrid creature made out of an oil slick. It's the fact that the teenage protagonists have graphic sex just before.
Yeah. I noticed that. I was reading the Kennedy film. I can't remember, 1982. It was around the Kennedy assassination.
The Stephen King book.
Yes.
Oh,
I can't remember the name of it.
I should know this off by heart. It's something 63.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, I'm awful on dates, but that sort of
something 1163.
Yes,
I want to say.
Yes, I can't get it right.
The Stephen King fans listening to this would be
horrified.
We'll their phone saying,
we'll cut in. But it's a spectacular book. But that he doesn't shy away from graphic romance scenes and real the nitty gritty difficult sort of
I
stuff.
Like that you say graphic
adulthood.
Romance, not graphic sex. So
well, yeah, we got graphic sex. Well, he does both. I mean, there's something that's quite like charming about it, but then there's also something that's like very, visceral and raw.
Yeah,
and I think that's why his work is so nice, because it mixes those two things.
And I think The Running Man is like that. The actual book is like it throws you into a very sort of desperate world. So before you've even got into the game, you're well aware of like sort of how cruel this like near future dystopia is, and how desperate people are for money.
So let's talk about the world building. When you had ideas when you were reading the books when you were a kid, but then fast forward to okay, let's do the project, and then okay, the project is actually happening. How did your sort of perspective change, and thinking, okay, well, this is what I want to take from the book, this is what I want to do myself, because obviously you're very very specific filmmaker in terms of like how you create mood and the world and the camera and the characters and everything. So like, what was your first like, this is why I want to do the movie, and these are some of the ideas I want to implement my version of this?
I mean, the latter part of it is more just a sensibility. It's not like something that I would, I'm a huge fan of his work, so it's not something I need to inject my personality into this. So anything that's like that in there is probably just a subconscious sensibility. However, when me and Michael Bacall started working on the adaptation, actually some of the key things were things that probably were exactly as I felt as a teenager. and things that I really remembered vividly about the book. Number one is that the area of play is so much more expansive. In the 87 film, all of the sort of action takes place in a sort of subterranean arena. But in the book and in the film, the game is out in the world. Like Ben Richards can go anywhere. In theory, it's like a deadly hide and seek on a national scale, a global scale. In theory, you could go wherever you want. Not that they're going to make it easy for you. And number two is that the entire thing is from Ben's perspective. So every scene revolves around Ben. You don't really have any information that he doesn't. What he knows about what's going on the show is what he sees on the show, but he quickly starts to realize that this might be like very manipulated or completely fake.
Yeah.
So,
massive gaslighting.
Yeah, and sort of like just sort of and he realizes that through the manipulation of his own image. There's something that he said on a tape absolutely does not go out on air, and they've made him say something completely different that's far more incendiary than what he was saying. So, and that was something I think really just kind of is a real challenge for the writing and for the filmmaking, is like having rules about the perspective. And and when we were working on the script and you hand in the draft and you do get notes back and they say, what about if we cut back to the network building and have a scene with Killian? What about if we break it up and go to Sheila and Kathy or other people watching the show? And we were just very
stick with it as much as possible.
It just felt like it's going to be a more exciting film and a more intense film if you stay with Ben, because then the audience is really experiencing the game vicariously through him. And so that...
And I suppose even the cutting in, you're seeing him seeing a TV
he's watching
screen.
it on the TV.
Right, yeah.
There's only a couple of times when you sort of like... There's some moments in the YVA sequence where you see the hunters kind of like immediately outside his door, but also he knows that they're there, and also the TV like is also commentating on their whereabouts. So but really it's like staying with him, and only like sort of, so when you meet somebody, you'd have no idea whether they're friend or foe. You have no idea whether they even know who he is. There's some nice scenes in there where he actually kind of like borderline assaults somebody who thinks that they recognize him and they haven't,
Yeah.
So, but that alone, that one sort of decision, then sort of ends up dictating so much of the movie, because every element of the story through the dialogue has to kind of come to Ben, rather than we can't have any information that he doesn't.
Cool. And so, talking a little bit about the writing process and how you like to, write or co-write. What was that sort of conversation like? Do you like to sort of write it down in a treatment? I'm guessing you have like sort of, directing ideas like that, for instance, that you're baking into the script quite early on. Just a little bit about that sort of process as well.
Yeah, well, what happened was, I'd worked with Michael Bacall on Scott Pilgrim, and he's an incredible writer. And I also knew, not that necessarily from previous movies that he'd worked on, but I knew just from him, like from other things that he'd written, and also just from his taste, that he was like the perfect person to work on this. So he was like the first call that I made when I got the job. And so we worked on the treatment together. So we came up with a really detailed treatment based on the book, because we were going to show that to the studio and then he did the first two drafts. I was actually at that time planning to do another movie, like a smaller movie in the interim, which didn't pan out, partly because, like 2023 was a sort of a
rough
year
patch,
played by, like sort of WGA and this SAG both went on strike, which, like obviously kind of stopped production for several months, and also kind of affected filmmaking all over the world, but so the movie that I was working on sort of fell apart during that. And then, and The Running Man, like we've been, like continuing to work on it, and it was a very ambitious movie as it is.
Yeah.
And maybe part of me in the back of my head kind of thought like, this is too good to be true. Maybe this will never happen, because it's just like, the script is very similar to what we made.
Yeah.
But then, so the great thing is actually the sort of the then head of Paramount, Mike Ireland, actually said at the start of 2024 last year, said, "Why aren't we making The Running Man right now? We could be in production by the end of the year, and we could have it out end of 25." And it's very rare for a sort of a studio person to kind of like
give you a clip around the ear and say, "Get on with it,"
and also say what they mean, and it come true. Wild.
Yeah.
It's like it is coming out in the end of 25. So I thank him.
Well done to him. Yeah.
And then to answer your question, there is that after that we started then working on the script together and throughout sort of production and post production, to be like really great script, really ambitious, and also just to wrangle it into something that's kind of like we can shoot and just dealing with, kind of notes and practical stuff. And that continued all the way through the shoot and in the editing as well. It was actually sort of a really intense
collaboration
and also a great process, because it was also a movie that I don't think I've ever worked as hard on something like in terms of writing during the edit as well, which was really good. And it's actually sort of like Michael Bacall was like in the edit with us the entire time, because we had to turn this film. We didn't finish filming until the end of March.
Wow.
And we started editing properly at the start of April. So
that's tough for a studio movie. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like what is you've got the script into a shape you like. You've got some of the ideas baked into the script, probably quite a lot of it's going in the direction that you think it is. But then obviously music's a massive part of your work. The sort of the tone as well, and casting, especially, in sort of like the uniqueness of characters, I feel like. So, I mean, does music sort of, are you having ideas for music early on? Are you sort of discussing that in the script phase, or has that come like right at the end? And then maybe we'll go on to the casting and the actors.
I think music it's not quite as prevalent as it was in Baby Driver and Last Night in Soho,
which I watched 2 days ago, so we'll chat about that in a minute.
But both of which, like the music is actually like a motivating element for the characters.
Yes,
in both cases, and it's sort of like an A and B side of the sort of similar sort of film in terms of music. Music is something that inspires the characters. In this, the music is more like thematic.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that you get a sense that
it's not as much of a soundtrack, no, for sure.
No, and to be honest, like a couple of the songs that are really key in there, like Michael Bacall had written into the first draft, and I mean songs I already knew and loved, but I thought, oh, that's perfect, and like two of them like really key, like the Sly and the Family Stone song and the Rolling Stone song.
Yeah,
and other things that and then mainly it's like thematic things. It's like I've always loved this song by John Congas called "He's Gonna Step on You Again," which the Happy Mondays famously covered as Step On.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's just that, not just the vibe of the song, but also like the title, He's Gonna Step on You Again. It's all of the songs that are in like The Running Man are like thematic.
Yes, big time, yeah.
So that was part of it, and it did factor into the production a little bit. More on this one is the score. And Steve Price, now I think my fourth or fifth time working with him, is the interesting thing here is he did a lot of music just based on the script, which is great. So he actually came up with a sort of like a suite of different themes based on the script alone, and some of them like are just let dead on, and they're in the movie. The other thing that he had to do, because it's a production thing, is we had to write theme tunes for these shows.
Yeah.
Because those things are going to be played in on set.
That was some of my favorite bits, actually, the mini skits and like TV shows that you sort of came up with.
Yeah, so we had to, and all of that stuff was done before. So like the theme tune for Speed the Wheel, or like there's a, or like the Running Man has like sort of dancers like on stage when Bobby T comes in. So it had to be to the theme tune of the show. The reality show, the Americanos, we got, that's actually Glenn's sister, Leslie, is doing a cover of Holly Johnson's song for the opening titles of that. So all of that stuff was done before we'd started shooting. And then the other thing that happened when we got into editing, and this is something I almost think of this as, it's almost like it's part of, if not the script writing, it's definitely part of the pacing, is that as we're getting to the end of the shoot, I'm sort of aware of how long the assemble edit was, because, an assemble edit is when, for people who don't know what that means. An assemble edit is when you literally lay end to end every scene as you shot it. It's the longest it could ever be. Now, so as an example, maybe like something like, maybe Hot Fuzz, the assemble edit would be like 2 hours, 45 minutes long or something like that, or maybe even longer than that. And then you get it down, to what it is. This was like something like, it was like a 3-hour assemble edit, but then it was something where I knew obviously it would massively tighten up. But one of the things I spoke to Steve Price about as we were going into editing was like, could you give us some like metronomic cues, like different cues that kind of like have a heartbeat pulse, that kind of like a ticking clock pulse, because when he's on the game, time is of the essence. And give us ones with different timing, some that are like slower, some that are faster, some that get faster, and some that decelerate. And so he just came up with all of these cues that we could sort of edit the film to and just have it there as like the sort of like the little, kind of ticking heartbeat of the scene. And so that was really useful. And that's something that really starts to kind of like motivate the edit,
Yeah, and drives the pace.
Yeah.
So how do you like to work with actors? I mean, I really enjoyed Glenn Powell's obviously sort of central performance. The intro scene, it feels like there's a lot of character building that you've got to get into that before the momentum kicks off.
With real babies.
That
was definitely a first.
Yeah.
And not simple, but
No.
but I'm really glad we did it with real babies. I'm really glad we did it with real babies and not dummies. That's for sure.
Dummies aren't ideal.
No.
And then you've obviously got Coleman Domingo's like really gravitas performance. Josh has got this intensity. I met him in TIFF. I walked past him in an elevator, and he's just like, just powerful energy. And Michael Cera as well. I mean, he's a classic, and I haven't seen him do something really fun and interesting. And maybe I haven't been watching his movies recently, but I loved what he did in this with you. So, like, what are some of your? Do you like to have conversations with them? Do you like to try out with stuff on set? Like, because how do you build these like really unique characters?
I think a lot of it is that you have an idea in mind that's based on the script or how you see it. And sometimes the actor doesn't need any kind of like, doesn't really need much discussion, or sometimes it is a point of discussion. I mean, in terms of like, I think Glenn like loved the script, is also, he's fantastic in the movie, but also I think he's also kind of pushing himself in sort of directions that like you maybe haven't seen him do on screen, especially in terms of like his intensity, because the character is like somebody who's righteously angry a lot of the time. He's a character who kind of, and this would be a positive thing if you weren't in a cruel dystopia, but he tells it like it is. He stands up to bullies, but he gets punished for it, and he gets held back, and so he has a lot of like resentment and frustration because of that, because like he feels like he's doing the right thing and being penalized for it. So with Glenn, it was modulating that, because obviously he's such a charming actor and so relatable, and also just kind of like modulating it so that like, me and Bacall would talk about him like hulking out. It's like the bits where he's gonna lose his shit.
Yeah.
And there's a key scene early on where he's kind of like he's signing into the games, and he's talking to this guy behind a sort of plexiglass booth. And I mean, maybe this is obvious, or maybe it's a second watch thing, but the guy is obviously like is deliberately triggering him, because the whole point of these game shows is they want to find people who are good TV. And so somebody who has a short fuse and anger issues is going to be good TV. So that guy behind the booth is in a very subtle way, like sort of just kind of in a very, very deadpan way, saying things designed to kind of like insult Ben and make him lose his shit, which he does in a spectacular way. And as soon as he's done that, it's like that guy. They've kind of like sort of like pinpointed him immediately. So with Glenn, that was part of the discussion. I'd say with like Josh Brolin, he loved the script and he was trying to find a sort of an angle on Killian. And the thing I said to him that I think made him like sign up is I said, I don't want you to play this like the villain. Like people who are in that side of the entertainment industry who are the most malevolent and manipulative will always appear to be your best friend.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're people who are like, they don't bare their teeth. And if they have bad news or something terrible is about to occur, they are not the person doing it. You'll hear the bad news from somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or they'll get like an underling to sort of do the dirty deed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, not like that he's not a malevolent motherfucker. It's more like that you won't necessarily see that face to face.
Yes.
And so with that in mind,
It's the actions behind it, but I know exactly what you mean, and it's pure narcissism, isn't it?
he also says some of the darkest kind of stuff in a really reasonable manner. So I think is it sort of what I love about his performance is this quite hypnotic quality to it that you feel like he could talk anybody into anything. And I think the thing is that Ben is probably somebody who actually, like, unlike maybe some of the people he usually deals with, is a little less malleable, but even he is kind of sort of seduced. So it was great getting Josh to do that. And what I love about his performance is he never fully like raises his voice in the movie. He sort of remains kind of like, I think also there's part of it with Josh's character that he believes he's doing the right thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's definitely a righteousness. Yeah.
Well, also it's because in his head it's like, hey, I'm just trying to make the best show, buddy. So it's almost like the entire tone of his performance is like, what don't you want to make money? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why are you scared of making money?
Yeah.
So I think it's like in each case, it's like, I mean, Michael Cera probably like less to talk about because myself and Michael Bacall had worked with him before. You know, the fun of that performance is you know, you see different sides of him that you maybe haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And he's such a brilliant actor as well as a sort of like a comic actor that, you know, whatever he does is going to be really captivating.
Yeah. No, I mean he is, and there's just a certain uniqueness that he brings, and I love all the way that you sort of crafted those scenes. Just in terms of like mindset, how has things changed from you in terms of like working on a big studio movie, getting stuff made, stuff falling apart? We mentioned, you know, working with massive actors, you know, and the pressures of that and like solving problems versus when you were starting with indie films. Because, you know, it seems like now you're in a position where you've got semi-regular movies or you can at least push to get stuff made. You're not in the sort of the, you know, struggling indie filmmaker sort of window, but obviously that's a big part of how you came through the industry. Like, how has that mind shift and psychology shifted?
Well, I mean, I think actually because of the sort of like the industry being so, you know, fickle and sort of like changing like very fast all the time, I'd like to think that I don't take anything for granted now.
Right.
That I'd like to think, not that I wasn't at the time, but I feel real gratitude for just being able to do what I do. Because I think, you know, especially through the pandemic and afterwards, like the business, both the production business and the exhibition business really suffered.
Yeah.
And so I actually sort of like doing this movie, I hope at least that I'm just really sort of like, you know, thank my lucky stars that I'm like working, and not just that, and able to employ people. I feel like probably because of the pandemic and everything that went with it, and even just the recent sort of like, you know, strikes, is that I feel the weight of making a movie, not just as a director, but as a producer, just in terms of the chance to employ people.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously a movie like this, you know, employs hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so I think, you know, in terms of like the problems of a production, I don't think it really sort of changes too much between an indie and a studio film. They're just maybe they might be on a bigger scale, but it's always the same sort of problems.
Yeah.
It's always the thing that you least expect, or it's something that's a problem that wastes a lot of time, that doesn't actually have any reflection on the finished movie. those are the things that are the most frustrating, is when you're spending a lot of time and energy discussing or even arguing about something that ultimately doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's something like, no, this is when the film is out, nobody is going to be talking about this.
Yeah.
Those are the things where you kind of like, sort of like, just that as you get older and more experienced, that you have less patience for that.
Yeah.
And less patience for the time wasting nonsense.
Yeah.
But everything else is like, it's the sort of same kind of like ups and downs of like, and physical production is like, a lot of the things we're trying to do on the film are ambitious, but if you're shooting stuff on location, no matter what your budget of movie, the sun is always going to go up or go down.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting a day shoot, at some point the sun is going to go down, and if you're shooting a night shoot, at some point the sun is going to come up.
Yeah.
I remember on Last Night in Soho, we were doing lots of night shoots on a short summer nights, maybe like 6 hours of night, and I would call like the sort of the dawn like Dracula o'clock, because it's like, when the sun is up, we're dead.
Yeah.
That's it.
No
more filming.
No more filming. Before we got time for maybe one more question, I would love to jump into Baby Drive. I did rewatch it the other day. One of the most interesting things, I think, just back to director choices and maybe blocking, is, the intro, how you get the character to move around and interact with everyone. But the laundrette scene, the blocking in that, the chemistry between the two of them, and just the way that you block that scene and the movement of the people and getting them to interact with each other. I just love to quickly dive into that as our sort of an end point, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the whole film is sort of choreographed, because
that's the word, yeah.
They're listening to music, and in that sequence, they're sharing music. Like, he's playing, like, she's playing him a track, isn't she? That's right. So, oh no, it's the other way around. He's playing like her a track. No, which way round is it? He's playing her T-Rex. I should know.
Well, there's the cafe scene. He plays her something, and then I think maybe the laundrette's the other way around, or vice versa. There's one where, yeah. But I suppose it's I think a lot of directors are scared to do stuff that's like non-conventional. They're not just two actors sitting like this or standing like this, and you do a lot of like dynamic movement, which really gives the energy and it really gives the character's life.
Well, you have to commit to it as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, is that if you're blocking something and if you're shooting something in that way, you have to be really firm in your ideas, and also you have to kind of be confident that it's going to work. Because obviously, if you're kind of like choreographing a scene with music that also has dialogue, you need to know that it's going to work, because you don't want to be in the edit and find out that it doesn't. So, some of that comes through rehearsal, of like rehearsing those scenes and looking at it, especially in that film. We could sort of rehearse with a video camera and the actors and the music, just to make sure that it's basically working. Because especially with like a song, and if it's based around the lyrics, that means that you can't necessarily change it. Now, actually, weirdly, and so for the most part in Baby Driver, like, so we sort of committed to these songs and we stuck with the songs. There was one scene that between the edit and doing some additional filming, I got so sick of the track that I wanted to sort of switch it up and change it to something else. And it was the one sort of song that changed. And it meant that when we did some additional filming, I had to just shoot one piece to sort of make the choreography work. But I think that the thing with that's both hopefully a thing that makes it really striking to watch, but also like a tightrope walk, is you sort of have to commit to what you're doing. And that's a sort of like, it's always a dangerous thing, because like, if it doesn't work, you don't have anything to edit with, and then you kind of like sort of, so that I think there was a lot of that in that movie, where you just had to be confident in what you're doing and commit to the scene as it's written and performed.
I think that's what a lovely bit of advice to sort of end on, because I think that's what it is. It's commitment, and it's having an idea and being bold enough to go for it. And I think you do that in all your movies.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks for the hot chocolate.
Oh, there we have it. That was Edgar Wright talking to Dom Lenoir mainly about The Running Man, which is out in cinemas in a couple of weeks' time on the 11th and 12th of November. Do go to the cinema, do go watch it. Well, what an intriguing, interesting chat you had with him. How fascinating. What is he as charismatic and charming in real life?
He is, yes. He's very he's very funny as well. I think I was a bit slow on responding to the jokes, but he is very funny, and he's just sort of naturally like got lots of interesting things to say, and he's just a lively, easygoing guy. It's a sort of paradox of the two, but a good combo for sure.
Well, it makes sense because of his comedy. His visual comedy is incredible. You look at Space and how he made those. It's fast paced. It's meticulous editing, and it's dramatic, jarring cuts. He uses whip hands, dolly zooms. It's these unique transitions to match cuts, etc. And it kind of has this rhythm and visual comedy and flair to his movies. Shaun of the Dead is such a breakout movie. That wasn't his debut. He'd made another movie before that called A Fistful of Fingers, which my friend Dan Palmer was actually in, and that was ridiculed. No one loved it. Got 1 star from somewhere, and just didn't really come out. I think it had one. It said cinema release, but it was just one day and it was his friends going to the cinema, and it just didn't do well at all. And I think what I like about that is it just shows that you can make a film with your friends and go do it, and it's not successful. And then you can carry on being a filmmaker, and you can learn from it and get better. Because his second film was Shaun of the Dead. I know he'd made TV in the meantime, and obviously Space was amazing. But look at his career, it's pretty incredible. Yeah. His list of movies are just fantastic. And I really rate that someone can be burnt, as a filmmaker and then go, I don't care. I'm going to fight and get better and learn and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
great.
I think you're right, and I we sort of one of the things that was really interesting talking about on the podcast was never taking anything for granted, and B that basically, like, whether you're making an indie film or a studio movie, it's the same problems, and it's always the stupid stuff. That was one of the good things we sort of covered in the episode. Is it's often stuff that's no need to spend so much energy and time worrying about, that doesn't have any real impact at the end. But I think one of the big thing for me was like just talking about having the commitment to try something sort of out there. And the example that we sort of spoke about, which I thought was like a very specific example, was Baby Driver, and the choreography and making certain bits where you're locked into like using a real track, so therefore the timings have to be, and the way it's shot has to be the same as you end up with, and you can't just sort of tweak it much in the edit. And having the sort of the audacity to think, okay, this is going to work, or we're going to try it, and either works or it doesn't, but we're sort of committed to it. And I liked that. I like that he sort of did. He sort of dived into that. And I guess, to be honest, that's experience as well, is probably knowing from other stuff what would work and what maybe doesn't work.
Well, he did a music video before Baby Driver, which you can see the parallels of, he was with Noel Fielding, was starring in it. I can't remember who the music video was for now. Was it Razorlight or something like that? Yeah. And it's a very, when he was like, well, I want to do this as a feature because it was timed perfectly to the music. I mean, that's meticulous planning. That's really difficult. It's precise. It's got to be pre-planned synchronization. It takes time. It can be frustrating, but incredible, right? He's also really good at homage and parody. Yep. You look at Hot Fuzz and how it parodies all these other movies, but yet does it in deep respect and admiration for those classic sort of American genre cinema stuff. The action horror, the westerns. There's so much Die Hard in there. There's so many other, wonderful movies that they've got. And that pays homage. That's not stealing in a bad way. That's saying, oh, yes, we're referencing this film, but we're doing it in our cool comedy way, And that's really good. But I mean, it's so interesting when he talks about the writing process, and how, it'd be so amazing to sit down with him and Simon Pegg and just listen to them chat for a day about how they actually come up with stories and ideas in the writing process. But how interesting about his process and what he was saying.
Yeah. And, working with co-writers, sometimes using soundtracks, like for instance, using soundtracks in Baby Driver, very different to using a score and momentum almost seemed to be the theme with The Running Man. We talked about Glenn Powell's character being this sort of rage, and then we also talked about like pace and creating like different tempos in the score for building different sort of levels of speed in the edit. So it's interesting, like even not being a soundtrack based film, it still has its own kind of unique I don't know, like world rules, I guess, and some kind of guiding principles that sort of move through that in a way.
Yes, in a way. Yeah, I like that. And it's interesting about his co-writing and working with people like that with Christy Wilson Cairns, and Last Night in Soho and the team here on The Running Man. Just really, really, really interesting. All right, so topic of the week.
Well, how about bold directing decisions?
Bold directing decisions it is. So
that wasn't bold, by the way, as in like, haven't got hair. That was bold. Like the washing detergent.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
Well, I think as directors we do, like you look at Edgar's work and it's got a very signature tone to it. You can kind of go, oh, that feels like an Edgar Wright movie. Quentin Tarantino is brilliant at this. Feels very Quentin Tarantino. Spielberg the same. Even though you watch some behind the scenes of Spielberg and you're like, he's so different every time in what he does with his filmmaking, but yet you still feel the Spielberg signature touch. Yep. You can't help it.
No.
And there's I think it's very difficult as a director to have your voice and have that because everything changes as indie filmmaker.
Yeah.
You don't often get chance. You put your voice on everything. You touch everything. You feel everything in the movie. But you don't often have the money or time or resources to exactly do the shots you want to do. There'll be many reasons for that. And therefore your voice gets lost a little bit because you're struggling against weather or location or actors or just not being competent enough to actually pull off the things you want to pull off. Yeah. There's many reasons for it. Or you try and pull it off and it doesn't work.
But and I think that's, the last point you just made, I think it's a really, really good one. Try and pull it off and it doesn't work. But I think not a really important thing I sort of figured out a while ago is that not every director needs to or could be Edgar Wright or Tarantino. Like not every film needs to have like a super auteur vision, because if everyone did, then there would be no variety. And there are lots of filmmakers where their craft is sort of being invisible, and I think it works. I think it works to sort of know who you are as a director, whether you are the more, invisible kind, or if you're someone that like really wants to sort of have a flavor or, some kind of guiding principles that sort of, carry through, from one film to another. And I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think you just sort of have to choose what's right for you. But if you are going to be the sort of the distinct director that has their own voice, you've got to commit to making some decisions that will stand out in that front.
Well, on that, Edgar Wright, for instance, he pulled out of doing the Ant-Man. So very famous film now, the Ant-Man, and he chose to walk away. He spent years developing it, writing it. It's the massive Marvel movie, Ant-Man. And he chose to walk away with the project due to creative differences, which is well documented, with the studio.
Too much and agonizing.
Agonizing.
And antagonizing, because it's an ant.
Yeah. Antagonizing, that was the joke. Yeah. He was the anti-hero, I suppose, in this situation. And yeah. And I find that it is bold because obviously giving up a huge chance to direct a major MCU blockbuster, it's exceptionally rare to get those. Financially risky move potentially for a filmmaker. Everyone then knows you've dropped out. You've walked away. What are the reasons? Not everyone knows. And he's just sort of saying, yeah, but that's not my movie. You're not giving me the creative control I need as a filmmaker, which he normally does. And even though the final film is great, it's a well-received, really good movie, is Ant-Man, but his decision to leave sort of solidified, in my opinion, his reputation as a director whose priority is his unique vision. And not just working with established IP. He was being bold. That's bold. He's bold as hell on Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim, the visual stuff in Scott Pilgrim is,
bonkers.
whoa, that's bold. And for us as filmmakers, we do have to be bold. We do have to take chances. We do have to take risks. But as you just said, Dom, and I love that, you said not every film has to have that. You don't have to have a wanna throughout this scene just because you fancy putting your visual flair. Hey, we've had it in every movie. You don't need to do it. It's about telling the story in the right way. And if the story is being told in the right way is a wide of the room, because that's what's telling the loneliness or the isolation, then do that. You don't need to follow around with a steady camera because you've done that in every other movie.
Exactly.
And I think that's bold too. It's sort of going against your own type, what you really want sometimes.
Yeah.
And bold filmmaking is hard. It's difficult because you just want to get through it and do it right. But sometimes you've got to be bold and brave. I know I was in Sessions. Sessions has got some really bold visual statements in it. And I really wanted those. I really wanted them to be in the movie. It's weird. It's odd, but it's telling a story. And it was really important for me that they were there. And you've just got to stick to it. You've got to go, well, this is what's telling the story in my version of it. And this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but you've got to go with it. Even when in the day when you go, oh God, this might not work. But you've always got other coverage, right? Hopefully you've got other coverage to get around it if it doesn't work. Yeah, mainly. Sometimes you don't. And actually, I remember Andy Roger, DP, telling me this on the Dare with a shot. It was the boy running out the house, and I wanted this long lens, and he just runs into a big sort of 30-second long running, and he runs into the close-up, and he decides he's not going to run anymore. And I said to Andy, we should get some other coverage just in case. And he went, Giles, this was your vision. Don't do that because in the edit, then you might use it or someone else might tell you to use it. Yeah. Stick with your vision. It works. And sometimes you need people like that. Because you can on set go, I'm not sure.
People who have a beard.
Yeah, and he has got a great beard. So that there is that. Yeah. But it is important,
The beard.
Because not beard, but to stick to your vision and be bold. My beard is, I've got a beard, but it's...
We're working on it.
I am working on it. I'm that old. I'm that age now where growing a beard as well. There's a beard there, but it's a bit see-through at the moment, mate. But anyway, did Edgar have a beard? Did he have a beard? I've never really seen him with a beard.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah. Let me just double check.
Look at the photos. Yeah, please double check. Everyone wants to know.
Yeah, he does. He's got a light beard, and a slightly heavier moustache.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dashing, long, wavy hair.
So it's a bit like DiCaprio.
Exactly like DiCaprio. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like a musketeer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I look like a big happy baby in my photos, like usual.
Yeah. Well, you'll see this on our socials. Follow us there, our Filmmakers Pod, if you haven't already, the Filmmakers Podcast. On that, did he enjoy his hot chocolate? Everyone's dying to know.
Of course, yeah. He said it was like smooth like Baileys.
He said it was smooth like babies.
No, not babies, Baileys.
I thought that's what he said.
I mean, babies are also smooth in a different way, but I wouldn't usually sort of, use them in culinary expressions.
I totally agree. Listen, this has been our Edgar Wright special. This has been incredible. To have Edgar Wright on is just a treat. When we started this podcast, to get people like that on talking about making films, it's a privilege. It's an honor. Thank you for listening. It means a lot. And if you do like this, do pass it on. Say, hey, have you listened to Edgar Wright? So does what?
Plenty.
You're going to have to explain.
It means a lot. It means a lot.
Are you doing a crossword at the same time? What's going on? Crossword puzzle, Dom. Brilliant.
It means a lot. Plenty. Yeah.
Great. Is that a quote from something, or you just spouted?
I don't know. No, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah,
you're spouting more than your hot chocolate pourer earlier.
Yeah. Should we give Mark a little shout out? He's been trying to get on the podcast because I helped him with the cinema run.
People don't know who this is. You've just said Mark.
Yeah, well, Mark Hampton.
Mark Hampton. There we go.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, director, everyman of boxing debut Unlicensed. And yes. I helped with the cinema run. It's a great independent film effort, and he has been wanting to come on the podcast, but we've got such ludicrous award season guests that have booked well in advance. So instead, we are giving him regular shout outs so that everyone hears about his fantastic boxing drama film, Unlicensed, which will be out on digital platforms on the 17th of November. So you can pre-order now And yeah, you're going to keep hearing about that over and over again until you
do
buy
not
it.
despair.
Yeah.
Everyone. Mark Hampton will be on the podcast very shortly, at some point, very soon, talking about making his indie, how he did it, great story behind it, indie success, and that's what we like. So do go support. In other news, the film that you produced is out in America right now. It's doing the rounds with the Shakespeare sisters. Time Travel is Dangerous.
I think I saw a cheeky win somewhere.
I get to do a cheeky win. Yeah, it keeps winning stuff. It's great. It's a great movie. If you haven't watched it yet, do go watch it. It's on Amazon now in the UK. And I think we've got Signs of Life is still doing its cinema run. Joseph Milson's excellent indie film.
Signs of Wife.
If you haven't listened to that episode, it's brilliant about Joseph, how he raised the money, how he made that film. Joseph Milson, it's about 3-4 episodes ago. Do listen to that. What have we got coming up? We've got some more amazing guests.
What haven't we got coming up?
Right.
What haven't we got coming up?
Exactly.
I mean, should we talk about the Train Dreams hyper episode?
Yes.
That's probably next week.
That's probably next week. Let's talk about that.
Who do you think?
Everyone's buzzing.
Who we got?
You tell me.
Okay. We've got the director, Clint Bentley. And we've got quite a few of the actors.
List them. Let's go.
We have got Mr. Joel Edgerton. But that's not it.
I hope not.
And we did have a lovely chat, by the way. We have also got Kerry Condon and Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones and Kerry Condon. Boom. Amazing.
I mean, what an outrageous panel of actors.
Absolutely.
And we do deep dive into their process, and we do deep dive into all things of this incredible, soulful, brilliant American drama. I mean, it's definitely going to be one of the award season contenders. It's a really nice, like, filmmaker's film.
Yeah, everyone said how great this movie is. Everyone's loving it. Train Dreams, it's getting a lot of buzz. Speaking of buzz, last week's episode with Riz Ahmed, our Friday special, and then on Tuesday, David Mackenzie. They're both, Riz is starring in Relay. David has written and directed it, but David had directed Hello High Water before that. But that episode's amazing. The week before that, we had Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst. It's kind of ludicrous, really.
I mean,
isn't it?
I'd like to say that this is. I mean, I wouldn't like to say, but even just that run in itself would be outrageous. But it's not the end.
It's not the end. And the week before that, Jason Clarke, Haley Bennett, Dominic Cooper, and the showrunner John Bockenkamp talking about The Last Frontier. And then I talked about Joseph Milson's, and the one before that was Benny Safdie, for God's sake, Uncut Gems director, who's just directed Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine. Right? Willem Dafoe not long before that. List goes on. And congratulations to those, all those have been nominated for the Biffers. I am on the judging panel. I am watching all the films at the moment. Yeah, I am. Yeah, for the next round. But congratulations to Nikki Bentham, who we know has been on the podcast for her film, her brilliant film Brides. That is nominated.
Saw her yesterday at Hikari.
I'm not judging her actual where her film is, so there's no
legal
bias
disclaimer.
The disclaimer is there's no bias, and actually you're not allowed to do that. So there's lots of us, so it's good. But anyway, exciting times. Filmmakers, go out there, make your films, make it happen, make things move this week. Be inspired by people like Edgar Wright, like Dom, like myself, who are going out there making films, making stuff happen. And look at Edgar. Like we said before, the fact that his first movie made for nothing, flopped, didn't do well, and he couldn't get a gig for ages. Look at that. Just think now where he is. So don't be disheartened by anything you've made, whether it be a short or something on your iPhone that you just put out there. Don't worry about it. If this is what you want to do it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But it might be. And if it is, work hard and make it happen. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, this is your duty too.
Run the elevator back down again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next Tuesday for our very special Train Dreams special. Dom Lenoir, thank you very much for your amazing sterling work chatting to Edgar. Though I can't imagine it was that difficult, but yes, you're still amazing. Well,
no, well, it was. Yeah.
Well, it was. I was amazing. I was.
Yeah. No. It was good. Thank you, Giles, for your sterling intro collaboration, and
Thanks.
editing,
Oh,
all round charm.
all round stuff. And don't forget, Running Man is out on the 11th and 12th of November. Anyway, we will see you next week.
Next
Bye,
week.
Dom.
Okay. Bye, Giles. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.